Hey everyone, my name is Jay and welcome to surviving 100 days in Scorched Earth in Hardcore. Now my goal for this video is on day 100 I would like to fight the Alpha Manticore. I've never fought a Manticore before, so I'm quite curious to see how this is going to go. And yeah, this one should be pretty fun. But as always, in any new map, the first thing you need to do is establish your dominance, and I'm going to do that by knocking out the first dino that I see. The first dino, that's the first dino that I saw. I'm going to knock you out, and you and me are going to become buddies. Yeah, just pretend the T-Rex wasn't there, alright? That wasn't supposed to happen. Okay, that's our first tame of the playthrough. Very happy to have a little Jaboa on my shoulder, and even more happy that T-Rex decided to leave me alone. But before we go any further, let's take a look at the settings that we're using for this particular playthrough. Now, I got asked a lot of questions in the last video about my settings. I did try to reply to as many comments as I could. If you do want to know the settings, they are in there. This time I figured it would just be easier to show you. The only thing I've changed this time, I've left everything as standard with the exception of the daytime length. I've halved it based on the recommendation from Syntax video when he did the 100 days. He said the day length was roughly 2 hours on this one, and I thought that was a bit too long, to be honest. So I set it down to an hour, which is about the same as the island, just to keep the same level of continuity from that particular video. But other than that, everything else is just at base stats. I don't know where any explorer notes are in this one, so it's going to take me a little longer to level up, but that's all part of the fun. But other than that, you do kind of just do the same standard stuff on every playthrough. You go and punch a few trees, you gather a bit of fibre and things like that. One thing I did want to do on this map, though, was to build near a body of water. And I knew there was a body of water where I've headed to now that was relatively safe. I do occasionally get the odd capro here, but that's about it. I built myself a little hut, put down the fireplace, punched it, as is apparently tradition with me these days. I don't know why I always do that. And yeah, this was not a bad little start. Now, I found this place on my first attempt of playing this. You will see it on the video a bit later on, because that one didn't quite go as planned. But overall, I thought the first day this time went pretty well, and yeah, I'm pretty happy with how things turned out on day one. On day 2, I set out to get myself a berry harvester. There was this pterosaur that was kind of stumbling around outside the base all night, so I figured I'd go and tame him. He's not a very high level, but I never use these guys for fighting, so it doesn't really matter to me. And yeah, I bowled him up. I figured this guy would be an easy enough tame, but then, of course, I remembered that I'm not particularly great at this game, and the bowler broke. I had to chase him with my stick. I think at one point I took a swing at him and missed and completely broke my stick on this giant rock. And yeah, luckily for me, though, he doesn't seem too clever either. He got himself stuck on this Dordicarus. I eventually remembered that I had other bowlers, and yeah, we managed to trap him again. Luckily, though, he is pretty much ready to be knocked out at this point, so I just punched him in the face, and he went down. And that was pretty much it. Yeah, not the best starts when it comes to tames, but I've had worse. Eventually got this guy tamed up, and yeah, we'll get him a saddle, we'll get him tucked back home, we'll get a bunch of berries made for him. And yeah, this guy I'm going to be using a lot to get a lot of narcotics, because I've been spoiling a lot of meat. It just seems the easiest way to get levels earlier on, and obviously narcotics always come in handy for future tames, so I spent pretty much the rest of the day doing that. Also made myself an industrial forge, and we got ourselves that placed down in our little hut here, and then we got a smithy put down as well, so we can go ahead and start making some metal tools. Made myself a metal pick, and yeah, that was day 2. Thought we're off to a pretty good start so far. On day 3, I decided that I would put this cartoon parasaur skin that I got on my parasaur, and I think it looks pretty awesome. I really like how some of these skins look in game. I don't really use them too often because I've never really had that many of them to use, but this time I decided I would use them, and I've put one on my Jaboa, and I've put one on myself as well. Don't we look pretty cool? After that, I begin to notice that the heat is unbearable on this particular map, so it was a good idea to make a tent. So I gathered all the stuff I needed to get that made, and then spent the rest of the day just making some more materials. I got some narcotics on the go, I got some gunpowder made, and then essentially spent the rest of the day running around with our parasaur and getting as much berries and things as we can. Again, I don't really know where any explorer notes are for early levels, so I figured this is a good way as any to try and get some levels pretty quickly. Also, there's a nice little node of metal here, so may as well grab that too while I'm here. I haven't gone too far as of yet, but it's a very dangerous map. I want to be prepared before I set off on any adventures. It's day 4 and I am off to try and get myself a Doedicurus. This guy is going to be vital for when I'm going to be doing some building, which if you watch my previous video you'll know I'm a big fan of building. And it's also the first day I got a taste of just how dangerous this map could be. You may have spotted that there was a raptor chasing this Morellatops in the background, and you may also see that raptor now is attacking the Doedicurus that I have just knocked out. I'm also being chased by another Doedicurus. Everything's all going on at once, but I decided, okay, we need to get that guy off of my guy, so I decided to try and knock this one out. As you can now see though, a second raptor, which I didn't notice at first, is now chasing me, and somehow I managed to bowler this one. Figured we may as well knock this one out too. Just about managed to get it knocked out, and then I realised that I had ran out of arrows, so I can't then go and try and knock out the second one. At this point, I think that other one's like a level 90 something, and I don't really want to be fighting that because I haven't really got anything to fight it with. So I decided I'd run over to the Parasaur, and yeah, I mentioned he's not a very high level, but I also don't want to die. At this point I'm on day 4, I'm about 3.5 hours into the recording. Not a whole lot to kind of ditch, I suppose, but I don't really want to start this whole process again. And we've got off to a good start so far, so figured worst case scenario, this guy would at least hopefully be able to fight off the raptor. As you can see though, the raptor seems to have fled, so thankfully we managed to avoid that whole situation. So I'm just going to spend a little bit of time here giving this guy some berries, and I may as well give that raptor some meat as well, and then we'll have 2 tames. Raptor has tamed up. Very happy about that. Nice to have a little bit of defense because this Doedicurus is taking a long time to tame up, and that other raptor isn't going to be too far away from here, so I would like to know where it is. In fact, here it is. I tried to hit it with a bowler and completely missed. I figured at this point my raptor would be able to defend me. Went off to try and fight it. Turns out that raptor is way tougher than mine, and immediately killed my raptor straight away. It's a level 92, so yeah, this was essentially a fight for my life. At this point, the Doedicurus is still unconscious and tamed up. The Parasaur isn't going to do me much good in this particular instance, and this, ladies and gentlemen, is why I always tank my health early on in game, because of situations like this that I find myself in. We did eventually get the Doedicurus though, and that was a very eventful day 4. On day 5, we are back out trying to tame again, and I come across this level 72 Ankylosaurus. We're going to need this guy to get as much metal for us as we possibly can, and thankfully there isn't any crazy raptors kicking around today trying to ruin my plans. So this one was a relatively straightforward tame. It's not fast enough to catch up with me, so you kind of walk backwards a little bit until it starts to run. And then once it's out, just feed it a load of berries. And there we go. We now have ourselves an Ankylosaurus. Very happy about that. We need to go and gather a bunch of metal. And that's pretty much what I'm planning on doing for the rest of the day, because we still need to make ourselves some guns. And yeah, that's going to be necessary very soon because we're going to start going for high level tames. So I need to try and get myself some trank darts and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, early days, I'm just trying to gather the team essentially for all the building and necessary resource gathering. And yeah, I think this has been a pretty successful day. Very happy with how this one went. On day 6, I figured it was about time we got ourselves a dino that could actually fight back, and I'd seen a direwolf near the base. This one, it's only a relatively low level, 56, but you know what, it will do for now until we get something a little bit better, so I decided to try and knock this one out. Eventually, the bowler broke, which seems to be a theme with me lately, and it started to run away. It was also very bloody. I was a little concerned I was going to kill it, but thankfully I didn't. It managed to go unconscious in a relatively safe area as well. So the rest of the plan now is just to give this guy some meat and just hang around until he tames up. And yeah, that took a little while. But now that we do have ourselves a direwolf, I'm going to use this guy to go out and try and get ourselves some high-level dinos. So yeah, very happy to have this one in the team. Day 7 was a resource gathering day. We are out getting some sand and some stone on our Doedicurus because we're about to build ourselves an adobe structure, because I can't live in a thatch hut anymore. The temperature is too crazy. I need somewhere that is a little bit more stable. We also need a bunch of cactus sap because you use that to make clay in the mortar and pestle. So yeah, I spent most of day 7 just gathering resources so that I can go ahead and start building my house on day 8. So on day 8, we started building our first base, and if you've watched my previous ARK video, you will know that I'm a big fan of Aaron Longstaff's builds, so I'm once again following one of his tutorials. I have changed it slightly though. only because in his video it was made in the swamp and it was made out of stone and wood and all that kind of stuff. Obviously, as I mentioned on day 7, I can't really live in thatch huts and wooden huts and stuff because it's just too warm here. So I've done the exact same build. I've just replaced all of the features with Adobe, and I think it turned out pretty good. If you want to see the build, you will see a link to his channel and this particular build in the description, so you can go and check him out and send him some love because his videos are fantastic, and I highly recommend his channel to anyone who is a fan of building in ARK. And yeah, this was a pretty fun build. I managed to get a decent little place put together here, and you're quite surprised once you go inside of just how big it actually is and how much stuff you can actually fit inside it. I honestly didn't think I would get as much stuff inside this little house as I did. I ended up staying here for a lot longer than I thought I would. But yeah, I'm pretty happy with how it's all turned out, just putting in the final touches and obviously the doors and things like that. But once you get inside, you will see there is a good amount of space for a lot of stuff. So yeah, very happy with this. Another great build from Aaron. On day 9, we went out to try and get ourselves some crystal. We need to make ourselves a spyglass so I can start trying to find some higher level dinos. And I'd noticed that there was these mountains not too far from the base, so me and the direwolf went out to try and get some. I'm not going to be able to carry a whole bunch because the weight on the direwolf isn't very high, but I'll be able to gather enough to make myself a spyglass and maybe even make enough for the helmet that we need to complete our desert set, which is going to be needing some silica pearls as well. But luckily where we live, where the water is, there is tons of silica pearls, so I won't have to worry about that. So finally got ourselves back to the base. It was a bit of a trek and it took a while because the weight on the direwolf, as mentioned, isn't particularly great. However, we managed to get back pretty much unscathed, and we had just enough to make our desert hat. This is going to help us for sandstorms. I've had a few sandstorms lately where I've just kind of had to hide indoors, and yeah, this is going to be making life so much easier. Of course, I'm going to need the skin from the helmet I'm wearing now because I do like the idea of having the cowboy hat. I think it looks pretty cool, but now we're going to be loads safer in sandstorms. After that, I spent a bit of time making some cementing paste. I'd used the Doedicurus to gather some stone. There's plenty of bugs around here to get chitin from as well, because the next step is I would like to make myself a fabricator for the new base. So that's exactly what we did. Went into the house, made ourselves the fabricator, and then we'll take it over. Now, there was a little trick that I also learned from Aaron's videos, that if you place down a ladder and then climb the ladder and then attempt to put down a structure, it will go down perfectly straight. So I'm going to be using that technique quite a lot throughout this playthrough, because I like the idea of everything being perfectly straight in the base, and it's just so much easier for me than trying to mess with camera angles and stuff, because I always mess that up. I'm not particularly great at that, so it's just so much easier, and you will see just how easy it is in a moment. So you place down a ladder, for those of you who don't know, climb the ladder and then quickly get out what it is that you're trying to put down. It will be perfectly straight, and then you just have to line it up. And yeah, I thought this is a pretty good technique, and maybe loads of people already know this. This was kind of new to me, so yeah, I was very happy that I'd discovered that one. Now that we've got ourselves a fabricator though, we do need to try and craft some better stuff as well. So I would like to try and get myself a GPS, because I would like to know where I am, and then I can kind of look up some things on the maps. If I'm looking for certain dinos, I can know roughly where I'm going. That'd be great. And also I've been gathering a whole bunch of polymer from dinos and things that I've been killing while I was out on the wolf. So the next step is to try and get myself a pump action shotgun, and we had just enough materials to do that. Already I'm feeling way safer by the time we've got to day 9. And yeah, it's going pretty well so far. Day 10, I'm going to try and head out and see if we can get some higher level dinos as well. But yeah, now that I've got myself a shotgun and a direwolf that can at least hold its weight in most fights, I'm feeling way more comfortable on this map. This map is very, very dangerous for those of you who haven't played it. I would highly recommend it. But yeah, I've spent a long time just getting stuff prepared. Day 10 started out by hitting level 62, which means there's 2 big things we can finally unlock, an Argentavis saddle and tranquilizer darts. However, in order to go and get myself an Argentavis, I'm going to need a lot more metal for our trank darts and things like that. So I spent the rest of the day gathering metal with our Ankylosaurus. And yeah, we managed to get quite a bit. Just near the base here, I think we've got 400 metal. Not a bad start. If you are familiar with my ARK playthroughs though, what I tend to do is name the dinos every 10 days. This is mainly so that I don't get attached, and also it gives me a bit of time to think of names. And this is the crew that we are currently rolling with. So we have our Jaboa, whose name is Mojo. This is the little guy who's helping me through the storms. This is Shaggy Dog. This is Radar. This is Flint Eastwood. And this is Dumpling. This is a pretty good team for day 10. On day 11, we came across our very first wyvern of the playthrough, and I honestly was pretty scared at this point. These things would kill me immediately. I'm 10 hours in at this point. I really don't want to start again because we've got a good start here. So I had a quick look through the spyglass and then ran away. as fast as my little direwolf could carry me. We are heading off to the mountain because today we want to try and get ourselves an Argentavis, and as soon as we get to the top here we ran into a Uranus and a couple of Carnos, so immediately I just tried to jump to the other side of the mountain so that it couldn't get to me and ran for my life. Can't be dealing with that right now. So I began by clearing out the low-level Argentavis that were around here. I need to try and find myself a really decent one. This is the first time I'm looking for a high-level dino in this playthrough, and yeah, an Argentavis high-level is going to be ideal for us because we're going to be using that thing quite a lot until we can hopefully get ourselves a dragon. And on day 12 we found a high-level Argentavis. This one's a female, level 145. I lured it through to the trap designed by Captain Fat Dog. The link is in the description below for that trap. And then it was just a case of closing the door and knocking it out with some tranq darts. It didn't take too long. I was pretty happy that we managed to finally find one. I had spent most of the day killing off the low level ones, so finally we got a decent level spawn. And then I just used the direwolf to run around the mountain and kill a few of those Carnos so we can get some prime meat. And then it was just a case of waiting for it to wake up. And once it woke up, we put on a saddle that we had just made, and then we picked up the direwolf, carried it back home, and dropped it back off at the base. I'd also noticed there was an explorer note not too far from the base, so I took the Argentavis to get that. This gave us a nice boost of 8 levels to start us off. Put some in health and weight for now. Eventually I'll put some into melee, but I'm very happy that we now have a bird. It's going to make this entire playthrough so much easier, and if I come across any dragons again, I'll be able to get away quicker. On day 13, we went out to gather a whole load of resources. This is going to be so much easier now that we had the Argentavis. So I flew back to the mountain from where we got it from so we could gather a bunch of obsidian. We also went and got a bunch of crystal as well. The good thing about the Argentavis is it can carry a lot, and it also reduces the weight of some of the stuff in its inventory as well. So I basically gathered as much as we could possibly carry. And yeah, we're going to be looking to make a greenhouse soon, so this came in very, very handy. Once back at the base, I made myself a chainsaw because I haven't really got anything that can gather wood around here, and there's not many trees as it is, and I've heard that the chainsaws are pretty good for that, so I went ahead and made one. Now, bear in mind, I am playing with just the standard gathering rates. None of them are boosted or anything like that, and yeah, I was pretty happy with how much wood we got just from this one tree. That is a hell of a lot of wood, way more than we got with the axe. Very happy with how that turned out. On day 14, it was time to start building our greenhouse. Now, my plan is I'm going to put it to the side of the house, and I would like to have a little doorway that goes through the house to the greenhouse as well, just to kind of keep it all adjoined. And yeah, it's just going to be a nice little spot for it. So you can see I've put the door over here. We've got some platforms already laid out, ready for it to be placed down. And I want to have enough room so that I can get 4, possibly 5 large crop plots in here. So that we can grow all 4 of the sort of carrots and things like that, and then maybe some narco berries as well. I'm not even sure if I'm going to be able to make kibble and things like that because I don't really know what dinosaurs I'll be taming that will need it, because I don't know if I can get the eggs for it, but I figured it would be a good addition. Plus, we didn't really have a proper greenhouse in the last playthrough, we just had a little farm plot on our house, so I really wanted to have a go at actually building a proper one. I think it turned out quite nice. I usually go for a design, but this one is just my own because it's pretty simple, and let's be honest, didn't really take a whole lot of creativity on my behalf. So, again, using the ladder to put the crop plots down, and this just makes them be perfectly straight, so I'm very happy that that is a technique, and maybe that's what people have been doing for years, I don't know, but it's brand new to me, so I'm very happy with it. And then it was just a case of laying down the farm plots and then putting down some piping so that it would actually be able to actually water the crops. The good thing about where things are at the moment is I'm right near water, so I can just lay down some of these big pipes with the taps, and then it will just go off out to the side, and I can put down a pipe that takes the water in, and then that's pretty good. So I'm happy with how this all worked out. I feel like I'm in a good spot for this base, and yeah, there we go, just connecting the pipe up now to the water. So very productive day on day 14, and yeah, look at my little greenhouse, I really like it. On day 15, I finally made myself an industrial grill. You can see I've already made a generator and some lights. We're starting to get a bit more things added to this base now, and now we've got a way more convenient way of making food. So I'll set that all up, cooked off all the meat we have, so we now don't have to worry about food for a little while. As I left the base though, I did spot a tech raptor was down near the bottom of where our dinos were, so I quickly made myself a little trap because I would like to tame it up. I'm not sure what level it is, but I do like the look of these tech raptors, and anytime there is a cool looking tech dinosaur near the base, I'm going to try and tame it. I've used this trap many times before. It's very simple, just to kind of drop little dinosaurs like raptors and things like that in. So yeah, we dropped it up the top there so it's out the way, and then we picked up the raptor, and then like I say, just quickly drop it in with the Argentavis. Pretty straightforward, and doesn't this guy look pretty cool? I like the colours of this one. Didn't take too long for this one to be knocked out, and then as soon as this one's all tamed up, we've got a brand new dinosaur in the team. On day 16, I was out looking for some oil nodes, and I came across a level 112 Thylacoleo, and I absolutely had to have this girl on the team. Now, I learned through my previous 100 days playthrough that if you carry the materials around with you to create a trap, just for these situations, then that's a great idea, because in 100 days, obviously you are limited to time, and a lot of people would maybe try to get a level 150, which I'd completely understand, but I haven't really got the time to do that as well as do everything else I want to do. So as soon as I seen this level 12, I absolutely had to have her in the team. So I quickly set the trap up nearby, and then I flew her over to the trap. As you can see, the Thylacoleos do a lot of bleed damage, which is why they're a great dino to have, and they can pretty much kill anything on the map within, I think it's about 100 seconds. They do like 5% damage or something like that every 5 seconds. I'm not entirely sure on that stat, don't quote me on it. I'm fairly certain it's something along those lines. Got it into the trap, knocked it out, and used the nearby dinos to get some prime meat, mostly from the carnos and from the snakes. This one took a long time to tame. It's probably easier with mutton, but I've never seen an Orvis around these parts, so I'll take what I can get. And yeah, I'm very happy to finally have a Thylacoleo. Now I feel safe in the air, and I feel even safer on the ground with our brand new dino. So yeah, welcome to the team, my friend. Day 17 was mostly gathering resources. However, I did go over to a nearby drop and make myself some cryopods. That's pretty much all there is to show you day 17. On day 18, we are out building a trap so we can finally start looking for T-Rexes. Now, I'm doing this really early on because I'm just playing with the standard taming rates and things like that, and this might take a little while to build up an army. Obviously, I boosted the rates on the previous playthrough that I did because I was fighting 4 bosses. This time, I'm only fighting 1, so that's one of the reasons I left it as standard. And I'm going to be spending a lot of time here trying to kill low-level Rexes. Luckily for me, they spawn really quickly, so this is where I'm going to be probably for the next few days. I spent the rest of day 18 killing off low-level Rexes, and on day 19 I came across the first decent one that I found, a level 135. So I decided to kite this guy back to the little trap that we'd made so that we could get him in here and start knocking him out. So this was the first decent one that I've came across. Obviously, I mentioned previously you can get 150s and stuff like that. I've not really got the time to hang around, so I wanted to get a 135, and who knows, maybe we'll find some better ones as we go down. But this time I tried to knock this one out. It was getting very, very hot, and the heat was really starting to mess with my health. But then I thought, why not just put down a tent and then crouch in the tent and shoot the Rex from inside the tent? And it actually worked. I didn't think it would actually work, but it gave me insulation, it kept me safe from the heat, and it allowed me to knock out the T-Rex. Finally, the Rex went down, we put some meat in it, tamed it up, and we had our very first Rex by the end of the day. On day 20, it was time to name some dinosaurs again, and we're doing things a little differently with the names this time. This T-Rex is named after the bravest boy that I know, and this T-Rex is called Kale. We also have the Raptor, which is TR7, we have Thyla Rose, and we have Polly. Polly is reincarnated in Scorched Earth, and it's great to have her back. I then spent the rest of the day sorting out the home and finally putting down some storage, again using the little ladder trick so that I can get things all perfectly straight because I'm a bit OCD with that kind of stuff. And yeah, I think it's a great little storage area that we've got. We've got 5 boxes just to kind of separate things a little better. And I'll put down some bookcases and finally get the fridge and all that kind of stuff in. So yeah, day 20 was a very productive day. And yeah, it's good to finally have the base a little bit more organised. Now I might actually finally be able to find all of the materials that I need for when I'm crafting stuff. For the next few days, I spent a lot of time with my Doedicurus. I'm going to be gathering as much stone as I possibly can because I'm going to be building a nice big base for the dinosaurs that we are starting to gather here. So that's pretty much all I did for the next 3 or 4 days was gather materials using the Doedicurus. We went and got some more wood with the chainsaw. And yeah, you'll see why in a moment because the base that we are building is pretty huge. So on day 24, it was time to start putting all of our materials together that we'd gathered over the last few days to make a giant home for all of our dinosaurs. I'm once again following, you guessed it, an Aaron Longstaff tutorial, and this one is actually the Griffin Trap that he built, Obviously, I don't have any Griffins, but I really like the design of this place, and I think it's going to be great for all of the dinos that we have, excluding the Rexes. Obviously, Rexes won't be able to fit in the size of this thing, but it's going to be great for the rest of the dinos that we have. It might be a bit overkill, but to be honest with you, I just seen the design and I really wanted to build it because I think it looks absolutely fantastic. I'm sure you will agree once it is fully built. The whole building process did take a long time, but it was good that I had the last few days to gather all the materials and actually craft all the stuff that I'd needed. Otherwise, we could have been doing this till day 100. I learned quickly in the last video of how to gather materials and actually build the stuff beforehand instead of building them as you go. It saves you a whole lot of time. And yeah, this one is really starting to come along really nicely, and it should be finished by day 25. We worked through the night, and on day 25 we were putting the finishing touches to the build. If you've seen me play ARK before, you'll know that building is a big part of my playstyle, and it just makes the game a lot more fulfilling, having obviously dinosaurs and great places for them to stay. And this one is probably the favourite one that I've made so far. It's either this or the otter sanctuary that we made in the previous video. So yeah, Aaron once again has knocked out of the park with a fantastic build. This one's been very fun to make. And we're just putting in the finishing touches with the pillars and things. And one of the good things about this build as well is obviously a lot of it's quite up high. But now that we have poly, it's going to be so much easier. And that's why I wanted to wait until we got a bird so we could start making places like this. Because otherwise this would have been an absolute nightmare to try and build without being able to fly. But yeah, I think this one looks really, really good. I'm hoping you do too. If you can think of a name for the base, please let me know. And I'll put a sign up retroactively and maybe post it on Twitter or something. But I think this one looks absolutely fantastic. And it's a great storage spot for all of our dinos. We'll figure something out for the Rexes later. On day 26, I did finally come across some oil veins. And I picked up these pumps from some drops. And we found two that were right nearby here, so I'll mark them on the map so we can make some regular trips back. I then spent a bit of time going around and having a look through some drops, and we got some pretty cool stuff. We got a Mastercraft chitin armour, and then a blueprint for a Journeyman one, and a little scope for our rifle. On day 27, I spotted a female level 108 Rex. We already have a male back at the base, so I figured this would be a good starting point. And if we can get some higher level ones later on, then great. But level 108 is not a bad start for me at all. Now, a lot of people tend to go for the 150s. I've already mentioned it. I'm not going to go over it too much. But honestly, a level 108 I think will be perfectly fine. The one problem I did have this one, though, was I kept luring it into the trap. And every now and again, it would just completely forget that it was interested in me and wander off and try and do something else. So it took a little while to actually get this one into the trap. Once it was in, though, we simply repeated the same process that we did earlier on with the previous Rex, and knocked this one out relatively quickly. It was pretty painless, thankfully, and we just put down the tent, got back inside the tent, and out she goes. We now finally have a female Rex. We can start doing a bit of breeding. On day 28, it was time to start breeding the Rexes. Now, this will give me plenty of time to level them up and hopefully build a good size army so that I can spend a bit of time towards the end of the 100 days getting some big levels on them. But I decided I was going to do this one a little bit differently. I didn't want to use torches and campfires, so I decided to build an entire platform and put a whole bunch of fireplaces around. I'd seen this design on someone's tutorial video before, and I honestly can't remember the name of the guy. I do apologise. I'll try and find it and post it. But essentially what it is, it's just 9 fire pits that go around. And then, yeah, it gives you a nice big platform for hatching eggs. Is it a bit extra? Yeah, it's a bit over the top, but you know what? That's kind of how we do things on these videos. And I think it looks pretty cool. Plus, it's going to come in handy for when I have a bunch of eggs to tame at once. And I don't know, I really like the look of it. So we got our very first fertilized egg, took it on over to the little platform, set a few of these fires going. Another good thing about these fires as well, it will get me a lot of coal so that I can use that to make gunpowder. And yeah, I'm very happy with how this all looks. So basically I spent a little bit of time waiting here, and by the time the night time came around, our first Rex was ready to hatch. On day 29, I needed to get away from the base, so I spent the entire day going around looking for drops. Here's some of the best stuff that we got. It's day 30, which is naming day and also imprint day for our little baby Rex. We decided to name her Maggie. I named her mother Dory after that fish that kept getting confused because that Rex kept kind of wandering off and forgetting to come and get me. And then we decided it would be time to take on our very first cave. So we got the Thylacoleo and we took her into the cave. And it was a lot of fun, so I'm just going to let you sit back and watch and see how these caves go. They're very different from the other caves on the island. I felt like a lot of the time the artifacts weren't spawning, so I would have to go in and out a couple of times. A lot of times I went in there and there was no enemies whatsoever. So yeah, I hope you enjoy this first cave adventure. Day 31 started out trying to get something from a job, but I was getting attacked by a direwolf. Thankfully, I had my boy here to take care of it for me. I actually got an Ascendant Kite and helmet, so I was pretty happy about that. After that, though, we set the sights on trying to get ourselves a Daedon, because we're going to need one of those for when it comes to the boss fight. And I figured the earlier I get one of these, the more levels I can put into its food and all that kind of stuff. So I set up my usual little trap, put it next to a tent, and I'd spotted a level 124 Daedon. And that one is going to be good enough for me. So far this series, I've yet to find a single 150 of anything. So 124, I'm happy enough. And yeah, that one will be good enough for what I need it for. So then it was just a case of simply putting it into the trap. As you can see, though, we are about to go through a heat storm, hence the tent. So I'm going to be getting back into the tent and shooting it until it is knocked out. I feel like this is a pretty decent strategy. And yeah, I'm glad these tents exist, because otherwise half of this map would be completely unplayable. You can already see my health is really low at this point, and yeah, this is going to be a big help. As the day went on, eventually we did manage to knock out the pig, and eventually we did manage to get it tamed. That's another member of the team. Day 32, I'm back at base and we are hatching some more Rexes. We're going to need to build this army up ASAP if I want to get them all some decent levels. And speaking of which, I don't really know much about breeding, so I never can tell if any of these guys are any good. As long as they do alright in the fight, that's good enough for me. So as my plan on day 100 is to fight the Alpha Manticore, I'm going to need to gather more than just artifacts to actually take on that boss. I need a lot of talons from the wyverns. I need 20 fire, 20 lightning, and 20 poison to be exact, which means that I need to kill at least 60 wyverns and be able to harvest all of their talons so that we can actually unlock that fight. So my plan, as you can see here, is to build a little base that's going to have a whole bunch of turrets on it to help me fight these wyverns, because there's not a chance I can take them out with just Polly. She's pretty tough, but she's not that tough. Now, I've seen loads of people do this. I'm not entirely sure who to credit, to be honest, but I'm fairly certain this is a pretty common strategy for a lot of people. However, because it's me and I don't want to have to start this challenge again for a third time, I have way over prepared and I've brought about 7 turrets with me and as much bullets as I could possibly make. So here we are in the trench for the first time. I've managed to get this fire wyvern to follow me. Again, I don't really want to fight too many of them at once if I can help it, although as it goes on I might get a little braver and try and bring a few more over. And essentially the plan here is just to lure it up to the turrets and watch the turrets take care of it. And it actually is a pretty effective method, maybe because there's 7 turrets on there, but this is pretty satisfying to do. Back over at base on day 34 as it is time to imprint the Rex. This one wants some cooked prime meat, Thankfully, that is pretty easy to get. One thing I did learn from my previous video, thanks to the helpful comments, was if there is something that I haven't got, I could put the dino, in this case a Rex, into a cryopod and then re-roll what it actually wants, but thankfully didn't need to do that on this day. Again, not sure if these stats are any good. I'm not too good at breeding. I'm still trying to figure it all out. Also, I have been making a lot of medical brews because the heat is really starting to get to me in certain areas, so they've been handy to have, and I spend most of the rest of the day gathering metal over with Flint Eastwood. I do this pretty much every day, if I'm honest, because we always need metal, so I always find time in every day to do a bit of a metal run. On day 35, I am out gathering as much organic polymer as I possibly could, so I figured why not do two things at once. We'll head into the cave, kill a bunch of mantis with Thyla, get as much organic polymer as we can, see if there's any decent loot drops here. I didn't actually find anything this time, but I may as well pick up the artifact while I'm here. Ordinarily I grab two whenever I go into caves, but we don't have an otter, and I don't believe the Jabora can hold one. I must have tried that at some point, but I honestly can't remember. And yeah, back to the base, and the plan today is to make ourselves a chemistry bench. Now we can mass produce all of the stuff that we need, and yeah, this has been very easy to get on this particular map because loads of materials are way more available to me than in the island. Day 36 started out with some more T-Rex hatching, and in this egg we actually got twins, so I was very happy about that. Our army is starting to grow at a good rate. After that I spent most of the day just going around doing a metal run and then gathering some stuff from the drops. Here are some of the decent things I got. I got some decent gloves from this one, Mastercraft Ghillie Gauntlets, and then from other drops we also got some decent things. I believe this one we got a shotgun. It's not the type of shotgun that I like to use, but it's handy to have, and I suppose we could always grind it up at a later date when I do get myself a grinder. And then also I went back to the base and made a sniper rifle and a few bullets. So yeah, very productive day on day 36. Day 37, and we are back at base imprinting some T-Rexes. This first one just wants a cuddle, so I'm very happy with that. This one wanted to cook fish meat. That's not too difficult to get a hold of with this little pond right next to us. There's usually a few fish swimming around, so we'll just go in there, kill one off, gather the meat, and then put it onto the grill, so that's pretty straightforward. The ones that have been asking for kibble that I just haven't had, I've had to put into a cryopod and re-roll, and that's actually been working out pretty well. After that I usually want a walk or a cuddle or something, so that's been pretty good. One thing I'm not too happy about though is I've been going to the desert most nights trying to find some loot crates, and this is the first one I found in about 10 days. Although it is a very good one, so I can't complain too much. We got a blueprint for an ascending gas mask and a blueprint for ascending ghillie boots. The next 3 days were very, very painful for me, ladies and gentlemen, and over the next minute and a half, you're about to find out why. Day 38, we killed off all the low-level Uties we could find, so the time day 39 came around, I found myself a level 110. I'm very happy about that. This one will be a great addition to the team. So we proceeded to try and take out the Carnosaurs that kind of follow it around. If you've ever tried this on an Argentavis, you will know that you will get fear-awed, and you do eventually have to fly off because it's out of your control, so it took a long time. Eventually though, we managed to get the Utie up to where the trap was, but as you can see, this one was clever and walked around the trap. This was taking a long time, and I was getting really annoyed at this point, so I decided, you know what, I'm just going to start taking shots at it, and if I have to run, then we'll figure it out. This one though, again being clever, decided to go over to the side of the mountain and jump off. So yeah, didn't really want to have to deal with that during the night. We'll try it again day 40. Now I know this screen still says day 39. That's an editing mistake on my behalf. This is actually day 40, and this is the day where everything went wrong. As you can see, the Utie is starting to charge me. Initially I thought it was running because it looked like it was torpor running, but apparently not. And this one started to attack me. Polly decided to try and defend me as she would, and I hesitated for a long time because I didn't want to have to kill this Utie because it's took me so long to track it down, but I also don't want to have to start this whole playthrough again. Once my armor had broke, I realised I'd made the right decision because this thing absolutely would have killed me. But yeah, eventually we managed to kill it, and yeah, that's two and a half days worth of tracking a dinosaur, only for me to end up killing it. A terror bird just happened to show up at the wrong time. He caught me in a real bad mood, and yeah, I just kind of stood there for a little while. Wasn't happy about it at all, but once we got back home, our new Rexes were starting to breed, so it wasn't a complete loss of a day. On day 41, those metal runs we've been doing every day have started to pay off, and we finally made ourselves an industrial forge. This thing is going to be a godsend going forward for the amount of bullets I'm going to be making to be going over to the Wyvern Trench, and just for everything else in general, be able to do a whole lot of metal a lot faster. And I put this thing on a little platform that I built next to the house. We'll probably extend this thing out at some point because I do want to try and get an industrial grinder as well. But yeah, very happy to have this on day 41. Day 42 started out in the best way possible. We came across a red drop with a ring around it, and when we opened it up, not only did it have an amazing ascendant chainsaw, it had an ascendant rock golem saddle, which gave me an idea because I really want to get a rock golem. We've got plenty of things to do before we get to that point though, including getting some imprints on these Rexes. This one wanted to go for a walk, but then didn't actually take any steps, which is fine by me. That's not a problem. The next one, I think, just wanted to cuddle, which again, that's not too big of a deal. This next one though is an example of what I was referring to earlier. It wanted some superior kibble. That's not something I have, so I'm going to have to put it in a cryopod, take it back out, and hopefully once I throw it back out of the cryopod, it wants something that I can actually give it. Now, at this point of recording, I'm not sure if this is still a thing that you're able to do in-game. I've heard people talking about that it's not a thing anymore, but if it is, it works. And this one, I wanted simple kibble. Bit of a pain to make, but I do actually have some of the eggs that will actually be able to make that. So yeah, that one's not too bad, to be honest. So basically we went out, made some simple kibble, and then yeah, just went back and fed the T-Rex to get that imprint. So yeah, pretty productive day 42. And yeah, those stuff from the drops, they were incredible. Day 43, we are back at the Wyvern Trench, and I wanted to try and get myself a Wyvern, and I spotted this egg. Now, this is pretty typical of how this entire playthrough will go. It's not a very good one. It's level 16. I debated leaving it, to be honest. But you know what? I kind of want to see what happens when a whole bunch of dragons try and chase me down towards the turrets. And I think this footage speaks for itself. Day 44 was back to breeding more Rexes. I've been trying to split my time between going to the Wyvern Trench and breeding up the army. And yeah, today we got 3 new Rexes to the team. It's actually going pretty well, and yeah, it does take a little while for them to imprint. So I've got plenty of time to go back and forth and do a bunch of other jobs. So it's working pretty well so far. Seeing as the loot crates just aren't showing up for me very often at night time, I've been going to get a lot of drops. And this one actually turned out to be pretty good. Got a nice pump action shotgun from this yellow drop, and yeah, I'm very happy about that. I wasn't particularly thrilled about the Megalodon saddle. That kind of feels like a bit of a dig considering there isn't really any sea around here, but it is what it is. I then spent the rest of the day on Fire of Rose trying to get a whole bunch of meat for our ever-growing army because those Rexes are very hungry. Day 46 and our newly hatched eggs are ready to be imprinted. The first one wants to go for a walk. I don't know why they never actually walk for me, I'm not sure, but I'm not complaining. It actually makes the whole process a little bit quicker. Second one wants a cuddle, and the third one wants tinterberries. That's a very easy request. I'm showing you a lot of this because, to be honest, a lot of my days is just breeding the army. I also go and do a whole bunch of metal runs. I'm not sure how many times you want to see me whack a bit of metal with an Anki. So yeah, this is the imprinting that we've been doing. This is what day 46 has been all about. Day 47, I was out in the desert looking for those loot crates, and then we ran into a death worm. I tried to fight it off as best I could with Polly, and then just my luck, a second one popped up. At this point I was thinking it looked like it was getting some blood spots on it, so I thought I could take it. However, I soon realised that with the two of them, they were really starting to mess with my health. And if I hung around here for too long, me and Polly were going to be goners. So I decided that it was probably best that I make a move. My stamina is pretty much gone at this point. I was a little worried that this might have been game over, but once we got a little bit of stamina back, I decided to take off. I am not going to fight deathworms anymore unless I have T-Rexes with me, because yeah, that could have ended very, very badly. Not a whole lot to show you on day 48. I'm stood here making a whole bunch of polymer. My notes told me I needed it. I can't remember why. Yeah, some days it's just like that in the desert. On day 49, we made ourselves an industrial grinder. Maybe that's why I spent day 48 making a whole bunch of polymer. I guess it would make sense. And maybe I should make better notes, who knows. But once we made it, we went and put it outside next to the giant industrial grill. Felt like it was a good spot for it. And again, used the little ladder trick to place it down perfectly straight. So I was very happy about that. So my next plan was to go and grab a whole bunch of materials that we've been getting from all the drops to grind it all down so we can save on going out and doing so many metal runs in particular, because the metal runs are starting to get to me at this point, folks. I do it pretty much every day. And yeah, although it is very handy to have a whole bunch of metal, I would sooner rather grind down a whole bunch of this stuff, especially the saddles for the dinos that we're never going to use, and get as much materials as we possibly can. So yeah, it's very kind of difficult to get all the stuff you need for these big things. However, they do pay off big time, and yeah, I was very, very happy to finally have this. And as you can see here, if you have a quick look at just the stuff we've grinded from all the saddles and everything, look at all the materials we've got. We've already got 420 metal there. It's day 50 and we are halfway through the challenge, so I figured today was as good a day as any to go and get the second artifact. However, one thing that is becoming a bit of a theme in these caves is there aren't many enemies about, if any at all, and it seems to be happening a lot. I've read that this is sometimes a bug for single player settings, not too sure why. However, usually once you get the artifact or get close to it, enemies tend to spawn in. You may have also noticed that I've mentioned, if you've been paying attention, that this isn't my first time trying to do that challenge. This is not my first time reaching day 50. You will actually see at the end of day 50 a little clip that what happened last time I got to day 50 and last time I came to this cave in this exact situation with this exact dinosaur, and I genuinely do not understand what happened. Hopefully you'll be able to piece it together better than I will. But for now, let's just sit back and watch as we make our way to the artifact, and then yeah, watch for the little clip at the end and see if you can appreciate my frustration. Also, the artifact isn't here, which is really annoying. Here we are, ladies and gents, day 50 on the first run. Decided to pop down and try and get that little loot crate. Seemed very easy. Seemed to hit this wall, and then I died, and my dinosaur died. Yeah, not entirely sure what happened there. But anyway, back in the real game, here's all the dinos that we've got for day 50, and you can see I've been watching a lot of Bob's Burgers, because they're all named after characters from there. Day 51, and we are back over at the Wyvern Trench trying to get ourselves a decent egg. Now this one is better than the last one we got, which was a 16. This one's a 44, still not great. And yeah, my luck with Wyvern eggs is continuing to be pretty abysmal. One thing I do really enjoy about being over here though is when you switch to a different camera angle and you can see the Wyverns chasing you through the trench as I lure them back to the turrets. That's becoming very satisfying. I'm also getting a lot braver over here, and I feel like that I'm doing alright in terms of when they start to chase me, that if as long as I get near the turrets, that I'll be fine. And honestly, I will never ever tire of seeing the turrets take down a Wyvern like that. It's very, very satisfying to watch. Day 52, and we're back at base hatching some more Rex eggs, and this first one we got triplets. I was absolutely thrilled about that. I've never had triplets before. Felt like that was a really, really good thing that happened there. And yeah, this is kind of how the days are going at the moment. I spend a day over at the trench getting some Wyvern talons. I come back, I do a bit of breeding with the Rexes and hatch some eggs. It usually takes about an hour and 20 minutes before you have to give them an imprint, so that gives me a bit of time to head off and do some more grinding and get some metals and things like that and make gunpowder and bullets and all that kind of stuff when we are over at the trench. But yeah, we got quite a lot of Rexes today. I think we counted 5 there in total, maybe 6. But yeah, this is a pretty good start to the day. So yeah, very happy with how this one went. The army is getting stronger and stronger by the day. Eventually we are going to start taking these guys out to fight some death worms. But yeah, this is a really successful day. And look at all these new babies. Day 53, and we're back in the caves again. I was trying to see if there was any decent loot drops here since I was getting no luck at the desert drops, and this time it actually had some creatures in for me to fight, which was pretty good. May as well grab another artifact while we're here. Apologies if at times the caves are a bit dark. I have only recently just been made aware of how to gamma up and down, and at the time of recording of this particular clip and most of the clips going forward, I wasn't aware that was a thing, so apologies. I will do better in the next one. However, we have got a different plan in mind today. I want to get myself a cannon because we've got a rock golem that we want to try and tame. So on day 54 we set off to try and get our very own rock golem, and I didn't have to go too far from base before I came across this level 112 that was just kind of chilling up the top of this little mountain here. So I need to wake it up, have it follow me down to a flatter area so then we can try and knock it out. And yeah, this went about as well as you'd expect for anything to go for me. It tends to go pretty poorly pretty quick, so we tend to lure this thing down to the flatter area. I then followed a tutorial by Steve at the Nublets channel. If you've watched any ARK stuff, you'll be very familiar with his work. He does incredible guides for cave runs and things. I use his channel quite a lot to kind of learn things, and the link for this particular trap will be down below. And the idea is that I have it follow me up until the top part where I leave the bird. I then jump off with a parachute, and then essentially it will stay there targeted on the bird, and I will fire cannons at it. Works perfectly well in his video. You know why? Because he's really good at this game. I am not. So, first thing that we did was set the cannon up to about the height that we think would be a good idea. Flew back to wake up the golem, and then attempt to lure it exactly where I need it to be, right up the top there where I'll park the RG, and then we'll go from there. Here's the first problem in this particular plan. In Steve's video, he used a Pteranodon. We don't have Pteranodons in this map, so I had to use an RG. Second part of the plan was I didn't account for the fact that I am pretty dumb at this game, and the bird was still following me, so it would have flew down and attacked me followed me down anyway. But not only that, as soon as the rock golem hit me, Polly tried to defend me because once again she is set on neutral, so this didn't exactly go according to plan. Luckily though, eventually the rock golem did decide that it would just hang around at these metal parts anyway, so I figured while it's there I will do my best just to get as many shots in with the cannon as I can. Polly at this point is on passive and has decided to go out of the way, and he seems to be pretty much staying where I want him to be, so I'm going to try my best to try and get some cannon shots on him. This is going to take a while, and I've also just realised that all of my cannonballs are in Polly. This isn't the best start to this tame, is it? After a while though, we did finally manage to knock out the rock golem. This took a lot longer than I thought it would, but yeah, I was pretty happy with this. I've never even came across a rock golem that often in this game before, let alone try to knock one out, so this was a first for me. It did take until day 55 to tame up, so the rest of the day was just standing here, and the taming effectiveness isn't great, but I'm happy enough with it. And yeah, we finally have our very own rock golem. Very thrilled that this finally happened. On day 56, I decided I was going to need a whole bunch more cryopods if I was going to get all of these Rexes over to the desert to start leveling them up against the deathworms. So I went off and made as many as I possibly could. And then once I got back to base, I gathered all the materials so I could also make a cryo fridge so that we can actually keep them stored at the base and I'm not having to carry them around with me all the time. And I've got a nice little spot for it next to where the fridge and the chemistry bench is. So yeah, we'll get that all put in as well. Of course, using the ladder technique to make sure that is perfectly straight. So yeah, the base for its size has actually managed to fit quite a lot in. I'm very happy with that. And yeah, we've got ourselves a cryo fridge. Day 57, and once again, my really limited knowledge of this game really steps in to show you just how little I know. I spent day 57 making mind wipe tonics so that on day 58 we could wipe away all of our points, put it all into crafting skill and give all of our Rexes brand new saddles, with the idea being that they would get a bonus with the crafting. Turns out that's only a thing if you find a blueprint and not just on the standard saddle. So yeah, day 57 was a bit of a waste. Spent a whole day gathering materials to make these mind wipe tonics, and yeah, didn't make the blindest bit of difference. All I got was standard saddles. Well, I guess you live and learn, my friends. Fresh off the humiliation that was day 58, I decided that I couldn't be at the base today. I needed to get out and do something different. So day 59 started off with a few loot drop runs, and yeah, we came across this Ascendant chitin gloves and the whip, and a blueprint for a Morella top saddle, which coincidentally I could have used the crafting points to make a better one of those. Turns out, never mind, you live and learn. But then we went back to the Wyvern Trench, because again, we need to try and find a decent Wyvern. This one is level 36. They're getting worse. I am not doing any good when it comes to collecting eggs. However, what I am pretty good at by now is luring a load of dragons over to the turrets. And I will put this clip in many times throughout this playthrough because I find it very enjoyable to watch as they all chase you. So yeah, hopefully you enjoy it just as much as I do. There's something very satisfying about some fire-breathing, electricity-shooting, poison-wielding dragons flying towards you while they get pelted with bullets and drop to their deaths. Day 60 back at the base. It's time to give some names. So Rock Golem is now known as Korg. This first Rex is named after my buddy L, and then the rest of them are pretty much named after characters from Bob's Burgers, which I watched a whole lot while I was recording this series. So yeah, that's where all the names have come from this time. But yeah, another good day. Our army's getting pretty good. On day 61, I'm out looking for another Uteranus, and I came across this cave that was filled with obsidian and crystal. And as I've never played this map before, I figured this was worth showing people. I'd imagine a lot of people already know this is here, but if you were new to the map like I was, I figured this would be a handy place to show you. And there's the coordinates for it on screen right now. After that, though, it was back to looking for a Ute, and I spotted this one that was a level 100 that was just kind of chilling there. It wasn't surrounded by Carnos. It didn't look like it wanted to attack anything. I was hoping it was stuck, so because it's a level 100, I figured I had to check it out and see if we can add this guy to the team. So after spending a bit of time shooting it, I realised that it wasn't trying to attack me. It wasn't roaring or anything like that. I think it is well and truly stuck. So I went right up close to it and shot it, and eventually it passed out. It was almost like this guy just wanted to be a part of the team and didn't want to offer any problems with that. I'm not going to complain. Spent the rest of the day waiting here, and eventually he woke up and we finally have a Ute. So on day 62, I took it out to get some levels, and there was an explorer note not too far from base, so we walked over that, got a whole bunch of levels, and then spent a good bit of time just killing anything that got in our way. It seems like our luck was beginning to turn, because on day 63 we finally found another desert loot crate, and this one had some incredible things in it. An Ascendant gas mask and an Ascendant Doedicurus saddle. Those are both going to be very, very useful. On day 64, I decided that it was time to move the turret system that we've got for the Wyverns, mainly because I've been having a few issues where a few of the Wyverns have been falling into the lava after they've been shot, and I'm not being able to go and get the talons, and I've essentially just wasted a whole bunch of bullets. So I've came over to this area where there's a bit of a flat patch. I've made myself a little hut that I can run into if it ever gets a little too hot, because sometimes I'm over here for quite a while and it does get pretty hot, and this will be a great place to come. And yeah, I've decided to set up some new turrets in the area. And there's also another reason why I've moved this over to here, because pretty soon I would like to try and hatch a Wyvern egg. So I'm going to spend a bit of time in building myself a Wyvern Trap. And once again, we are following a tutorial from Captain Fat Dog. I will put the link for that and all of the tutorials that we are following today down in the description below. And this one, it looks very simple compared to a lot of Wyvern traps I've seen. I've seen a lot of people build massive structures to try and trap these things, and honestly, when I first built this, I was very skeptical that it was going to work. I mean, obviously we can see from his video that it very clearly works. It wasn't a question of the design, it was a question of my ability to implement it properly, because if you look at it, it doesn't actually look like a whole bunch is going on there. So yeah, this is the plan. We have put ahead this little trap, and yeah, we're going to go ahead and see if we can actually trap a Wyvern in it. Again, the trap I'm sure is perfectly fine, but my abilities to have something chase me in these situations when I'm being chased by Wyverns on a Argentavis, that was the part I was questioning. But yeah, it looks fantastic. I think it looks really cool, and yeah, we'll see very shortly if it is going to work, because we are off to try and get ourselves another egg. This time it is a poison Wyvern egg. We've now got one of all three, and this one is actually the best one that we've came across. It's actually a level 80, and I'm happy enough with that. I'm not going to find anything higher than that. In fact, it's not a spoiler, it's the truth. There is no high level egg that I come across in this entire playthrough, and I really want to get myself a Wyvern. So we're obviously getting chased a little bit here by a few. The lightning ones are absolutely terrifying. The amount of health they take down is absolutely scary. And yeah, we've got a few of them chasing us here. So of course we are heading over to test our new Wyvern turret. We've got a lot of them chasing us at the moment. So yeah, let's watch how this one plays out. So on day 65, it was time to test out if this trap works, and we finally found a female Wyvern to follow us. It was a poison one, and after numerous attempts of me terribly flying, I managed to get it trapped. This thing actually works. I mean, I knew it worked. I knew it worked from the tutorial. I was always questioning my ability of being able to get this thing to go into the trap because I'm not the best flyer at this game. And yeah, I can't believe it actually worked. Now I've just got to do the simple task of jumping off my very safe bird and trying to knock out a dragon. Now, of course, Polly, being the bird that she is, doesn't like to be out of the action. However, I once finally remembered the button to whistle her to be passive, and she just went down and sat as I took on a Wyvern and eventually knocked it out. I was so thrilled at this point. I was absolutely over the moon that I managed to knock it out. I was even happier that I managed to get it in the trap. Again, Captain Fat Dog, you're a genius. This is a brilliant trap. And yeah, we have now got ourselves some milk so we can go and raise our own little Wyvern. So that's what we're going to be doing very, very shortly. This is a great day and this is a great trap. Absolutely love it. So in the early hours of day 66, our 3 Wyverns were ready to hatch. We got our Fire Wyvern, which is a 44, a Lightning, which is a 16. Again, I know they're all terrible levels. And then finally, our Poison Wyvern, which is the best one of the lot, a level 80. But I am absolutely thrilled to finally have some Wyverns. Obviously, they're not the best ones. The 80 isn't too bad. But yeah, it's the best I could do, and I really wanted 3 of them. So yeah, I'm over the moon. We have 3 dragons. So by day 67, the Wyverns were ready to be imprinted. The first one just wanted a cuddle. Very happy about that. That's easy enough to do. The second one wants to go on a walk, which you would think would be easy enough to do, but for some reason I was really struggling to walk around the Wyverns there. But yeah, that wasn't too bad. At this point I was kind of thinking, was there any point in even building the dragon trap? I could have just did the whole cryopod thing and switched it around if they wanted milk. I think part of me really just wanted to give it a go trying to trap a dragon, and actually this one wanted some Wyvern milk. So it turns out that it was a good idea that I managed to get some in the end. But yeah, day 67, we now have all of our imprinted dragons, and I may as well just give the other one some milk anyway since I've got it. But yeah, I'm finally going to be able to fly one of these, and I'm very, very happy about that. I can't wait to fly one. Day 68, the Wyverns aren't fully mature yet, so I can't take them out for a flight. However, what I can do is craft these Ascendant boots that I found the blueprint for, and I can also take the Rexes out to start fighting some Deathworms. I learnt from another video that if you fly close to the ground in K mode, you can see where they are under the map there. So I took the Rexes out 3 at a time to try and kill off some of these Deathworms. And this was a very, very easy strategy and a very, very rewarding strategy. And yeah, the levels that these guys get from Rexes, I don't know if it's just a single player thing. I don't ever play on a server, I always play single player, so maybe it's different on servers. But as you can see from the settings at the front of the video, I didn't change anything apart from the daytime. I left everything else as standard, but the amount of levels these guys get from killing Rexes is absolutely crazy. I don't know if it's just because this is the first time I'm taking them out and it doesn't take as much XP to level up them first few levels. Maybe that's something to do with it, I'm not too sure. But it didn't take them too long to take down this Deathworm, and I'm going to be coming back here quite a lot over the next few days to take out as many Deathworms as I can. So yeah, I found another one, just kept the cycle going. It's quite satisfying to kind of sit back and watch as the Rexes that you've bred take out these giant creatures. And eventually I would like to find an alpha, and I would like to see how we get on with an alpha, because there's only 2 alphas in this game, an alpha Deathworm and an alpha Dragon, and I want to fight them both before this video is over. So yeah, this is a really, really fun strategy, and get tons of levels for it. It's day 69, and wait a minute. Kruger Ops in the last video very rightly called me out for not making a day 69 joke, so this one's for you. Day 69. Nice. We are now off flying on our Wyvern for the very first time. We are taking out the Poison Wyvern as it is the strongest one. The other two, I just kind of hatched them to have them, you know. I just wanted to have them in my team. They're not going to be any use to me, unfortunately. But one thing I do love about flying these, not only are they fun to fly, you can get some great shots with different camera angles as you're flying around. And I'll be taking advantage of that quite often. Also, I came across this Explorer note, which I believe is a 4x1. And it gives me 8 levels off the bat straight away. So that's really helping out get this guy a bit of levels. It's a very good day. It's a great day to have day 69 out flying on a dragon in the middle of the desert. And yeah, I had a lot of fun this day. It's day 70, which is naming day, and I'm starting off by naming our Daedon, Linda Hamilton. Now, I hope that's not insulting. I meant this as a compliment. I think Linda Hamilton is an absolute badass. I love her in the Terminator movies, and just in general, I think she's really cool. So yeah, I hope that that is the compliment in which it was meant, and not an insult by naming a pig after a very talented actress. Also, Yuti is obviously General Yuti. We then have Electra as our Lightning Wyvern, Ember as our Fire Wyvern, and of course Ivy as our Poison Wyvern. It was then off to get the third and final artifact. So me and Thyla Rose, who is also, by the way, I don't think I mentioned this previously, named after someone who I think is a badass. I'm a big wrestling fan. I'm a big fan of AEW. There is a wrestler there known as the Beast, Nyla Rose. I decided to name this particular beast Thyla Rose as a bit of a tribute to her as well. So yeah, I thought that, I'm not sure if I've mentioned that before, but I figured it was worth mentioning now while we're on the subject of names. And yeah, this cave actually had a bit of dinosaurs in it for a change, which I was quite happy about. And yeah, once we finally got to the artifact room, it wasn't too difficult. We just kind of took out all the guys that were following us and then quickly grabbed the artifact. Day 71, and I put a whole bunch of wood into the industrial grinder because it was making charcoal really quickly. I'm guessing people already know that. I didn't know that, but I need gunpowder and I need metal, so I need more bullets. And yeah, spent most of the rest of the day with Flint Eastwood, harvesting a whole bunch of metal. Day 72, we are back at the Wyvern Trench, and I've had a very big brain idea for me. I've put some preserving bins over here with some raw salt in, and I've also put an industrial grill on the outside so that every time we kill a dragon and we harvest all that prime meat, we can put it straight into the grill, cook it up, put it straight into the preserving bin, and this will be the meat that we use for the Daedon in the boss battle. And yeah, I'm genuinely impressed with myself that I actually thought this was a good idea. I've never really come up with this many good ideas in this game, as you'll have seen from the videos that I've put out. But yeah, this one I was pretty proud of. Whole bunch of cooked meat ready for Linda Hamilton for when we go into that boss fight. It's day 73 and I'm making myself an industrial cooker because this is going to come in very handy to make all of the medical brews and the stimulants and all that other kind of stuff that I'm going to need going forward. And yeah, I've never had one before, so I figured I would get one made. I put it on the pipe that's connected to the greenhouse, and yeah, I'm pretty happy with how that whole thing turned out. I also would like to try my hand at doing a bit of painting, mainly on saddles, also on the structures. You'll notice I will not once comment on the structures because I did a terrible job, because it doesn't look good on Adobe, but what I am going to do is make some dyes, and I'm going to dye up a couple of saddles because I think that'll look pretty cool. Day 74, and it is back to T-Rex training. We are out this time on Thyla Rose. We have brought with us Kendra, Rain and Kale to try their hand at fighting some death worms, and as expected, these guys absolutely wrecked this death worm and any other that we came across. This is really, really good for leveling. You get a whole bunch of levels, and it's just really enjoyable to watch them get killed. Day 75, however, was once again bitter disappointment when it comes to desert drops. They're just never here, man. I don't know what to tell you. On day 76 though, we came across a yellow drop with a ring around it. I've been getting a lot of these lately, there's not a lot in them, so I tend to just grab stuff and fly off. However, I noticed at that point it said there was an Ascendant pump action shotgun. 443.7% damage. What? I genuinely couldn't even believe that was a thing. I had to double check to make sure I wasn't misreading So yeah, I was over the moon with that. But then of course it's back spending the rest of the day gathering materials. And yeah, it turns out the rock golem is really good at smashing rocks. Who'd have thought it? So yeah, got a whole bunch of stuff so we can make some cementing paste and a whole bunch of other materials that we need. So yeah, what a day 76 was. We do still have a whole lot of Rex leveling to do though, so I figured I'd spend the next few days over in the desert trying to take on as many deathworms as we could. We'd get as many killed with the group of 3, and then once they've all got a few decent levels, we'd swap them out for the next group of 3 and repeat that process for the next few days until all my guys were pretty much ready to fight the Alpha Manticore on day 80. I will probably come back here later on as well just to get some final prep in, but yeah, this is pretty much what we're going to be doing for the next few days. So why not just sit back and enjoy these clips of a bunch of deathworms meeting their maker at the hand of my T-Rexes. Now that all my Rexes have got some good levels, I figured it was time to get the UD some more levels too. So we came across to where we'd found ourselves an Explorer note. I'm hoping to get this guy up to about 25k health. We'll put a bit of stamina and melee in there as well because there's a good chance I'm going to have to fight some things off. Probably isn't a great idea to be jumping off and taking fall damage like that, but luckily for me I've got plenty of time and a pig that likes to heal between now and day 100 to get all my health back. So yeah, I figured it was a good idea to take out these thorny dragons and level up as much as I could. Also, I really love the level up animation on this guy. Day 82, it was Linda Hamilton's turn to become a bit more of a badass than she already is. So with Polly watching our back, we came over to find ourselves another Explorer note and then basically kill as many things as we can until the timer runs out. So yeah, try to get as many levels in Linda as we can. It's my understanding that it's a good idea to pump the food stats. That's what I've been doing. And yeah, I'm very happy with how this is going. Leveling's going really well lately. However, on day 83, we have to go back to grinding more materials. It is a non-stop farming factory that we've got running right now. We get as much metal as we possibly can, grind it up into bullets and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, this takes a while. So yeah, have to do this every day. This continued into day 84. We made as much gunpowder as we could so that we could start making some shotgun shells for that incredible shotgun that we found, because that, I believe, is going to come in very handy in the boss fight. Guess what we did day 85? Gathered flint this time. Yeah. Flint instead of metal. Need spark powder. Yeah, this takes a while. Day 86, we took a break from gathering metal, flint, and stone to gather berries and water. We need as many medical brews as we can take into this boss fight. Our army is going to need a whole lot of meat, so it was a great excuse to take Thyla Rose out on day 87 and gather as much meat as she possibly could. God, I love this Thyla. It's so cool to just kill everything really quickly. On day 88, hopefully I've learned from the mistakes I made the last time I used a Mind Wipe Tonic, and this time we're going to pump it all into crafting skill and actually craft the stuff that we found the blueprints for, namely all of our gear. We found some incredible blueprints through the caves and occasionally from drops and things like that, so I wanted to see how much of a buff that I would get, and immediately the mask got an extra 10%, a few other bits got some really good buffs as well, and this is going to be the armour that we're going to be taking into the boss fight. So yeah, I wanted to get all of this crafted up and make sure that I could make plenty of it to take with me. And of course we've got the Ascendant gas mask as well that we found in one of the few loot crates that we came across. However, at this point I did have to run out and get some fibre, which wouldn't really ordinarily be a big deal. We're pretty safe around here. However, I've just put all of my points into one stat, and I was kind of terrified about going outside when I only had 100 health in this particular heat. So yeah, this was a bit of a dangerous run for me. It might not seem like a big deal, but this is the most vulnerable we've been since day 1, and we're on day 88, and I did not want to run out here and get attacked by a raptor or anything that might show up at the base, because that would be immediately game over. Anyway, we finally got everything we needed. We crafted all of the good blueprints that we had, so we'd have spares of things, and yeah, I'm very, very happy with this. I think we've got some pretty good gear, and I'm feeling very confident about the boss fight, so yeah, this should be a lot of fun when we eventually get there. With all my points restored back to how they were before the mind wipe, I figured on day 89 we'd take another run at that last cave. just to see if there's any loot crates in there. We might get some good stuff. And we took down this little rock rubble golem, I think they're called, pretty quickly on the way to getting another artifact. And yeah, I tend to like having a couple of these. I like how they look in the base. And yeah, it was just another excuse to try and find some decent loot. This was the one loot crate that we came across that wasn't in a scary area that I didn't want to die from. And we actually got some pretty decent stuff. I'm happy with that shirt. We've got a better one at home now. It's good to have a backup. On day 90, we finally made ourselves a heavy auto turret. Now, the reason I want one of these is because last time I was over at the Griffin Trap, I spotted an alpha Griffin and I want to try and kill it. Now, I have got a bunch of turrets over there, as you know. However, I don't know how tough this thing is going to be, so I want to try and take it out with as many turrets as I possibly can. So I headed on over to where the previous ones were to grab whatever remaining bullets were left, because the new one does fire a whole lot of bullets all at once. And I took the new one over to where the new trap is and set that one down. So we now have 4 turrets there and a big heavy auto turret that have all got quite a lot of bullets in it. Luckily for me, the one alpha Griffin that I've came across isn't a particularly high level. I think it was like a level 4 or level 6 or something like that. So it wasn't particularly the strongest one. If I was going to come across a one any higher, that would have been even scarier. But it's still pretty scary because I've had to jump off the bird to get its attention to shoot it. And then if I somehow don't get back on the bird quickly enough, I'd have been done. And this whole run would have been done because we're at day 90. And I did not fancy starting this whole thing again. Now, basically, I had this thing follow me like any other dragon that I've had follow me. I know I keep swapping back and forth between Griffin and dragon. I can't help it. They look like dragons, alright. I know some people get kind of up in arms about what you call them. But call them whatever you like, I don't mind. So yeah, basically I was kind of trying to avoid the fire because I figured this one would do a lot of damage to me. Initially, the dragon that was following it came over first, and my turrets took it down pretty quickly. It was only level 12. But obviously you can see the alpha there is kind of stuck a little bit under the little ledge as we've come over. So I've got to go back around to try and get its attention. This was pretty terrifying because I thought if it attacks me now and I get stuck or I fall off or anything, then it'll be game over. Luckily for me though, we did manage to get it to come around and follow on over. And those turrets absolutely annihilated this thing a lot faster than I expected them to. Really went down really quick. I was in shock at that. Also got some really cool stuff from this. Once we have a look in the bag, you will see that we've got some really great things. And yeah, some pretty cool stuff to go on our armor as well. So I was very happy with that. And look at all that milk. So on day 91, we headed on over to the desert to try and hunt down an alpha deathworm. Now we're going to take a little bit of time over here to try and find it because it's not like the trench where you can fly in, see if there's one there, and if there is, prepare for it. Here I have to run around the whole desert and hopefully eventually come across one. We spent a long time over here. Our Rexes were getting a whole bunch of levels, so it was completely worth it. However, I was beginning to worry whether we're actually going to come across and find one. Finally though, on day 93, our wishes had came true. An alpha deathworm made itself available to us. We had our 4 strongest Rexes with us at the time ready to fight it. And yeah, this was absolutely glorious to watch. The Rexes didn't actually take too long to kill it. These guys are very, very tough at this point. And that is another challenge done on our video. I was very happy to get that. And also we got some pretty cool skins and a trophy for killing the deathworm. On day 94, I figured it was time to get Mojo some friends. So I spent the day gathering as many Jaboas as I could possibly tame, ready to take back to the base so that Mojo will be able to have some friends and spend a bit of time with them for when we eventually leave this place. So I think I got about 6 in total, spent the whole day gathering Jaboas, and I also put all the different hats on them from the skins that we've got, and don't they look absolutely cute. I hope you like all your new friends, Mojo. You've been very helpful to me through this playthrough. On day 95, I decided to start moving over the Rexes to the platform. They have got a lot of healing to do, and I also wanted to get them over here in time. I also have got the cryopod stuff that still goes on there. Someone mentioned in the comments in the previous video you can turn that off. I honestly forgot by the time I covered this playthrough. So yeah, I figured I'd got that to incorporate as well. So the next few days are going to be moving Rexes over here and getting them ready. On day 96, Ivy and I flew on over to the platform with a whole bunch of meat and with Linda Hamilton so we could get these Rexes healed up. From all the levels they've been receiving, I've been pumping a lot into health, but obviously it doesn't fully populate their health, so they have to eat a lot of meat to heal up and stuff like that. So I figured now would be the perfect time to get them all ready. So we sent Linda in there, put some passive healing on, and got these guys a bit of a buff that we need. We also have a Mochops on the platform. Not sure if he fancies tackling the boss. If he comes along, then so be it. The highlight of day 98 for me was flying through a lightning storm with Ivy, and we got some incredible shots as we flew across here. I think this looks really cool. This game at times is really, really beautiful. We also took the rest of our cooked meat and cooked prime meat over to Linda Hamilton so that she could finally heal the Rexes up fully and have plenty food, so she'd be a good use in the boss fight. Day 99, and it's time to gather all of the materials we need ready for the boss fight. I started by getting all of our gear. I then went and got the talons that we need to actually summon the alpha, and also got the artifacts as well, because I figured if I didn't do that now I'd completely forget and then have to run back on day 100. I also went to the fridge and got all the medical brews that we made. At this point I was debating whether I wanted to take over Polly or if I wanted to take Ivy to get to the platform. Instead I decided against that. I decided I was going to walk it. I wanted to take in Scorched Earth for one final time. This map at the start was very, very difficult, and the more I got into it, we still had challenges, but we actually overcame it. So far in this entire playthrough, with the exception of a raptor that we didn't have a name for at the very start, we haven't lost a single dino, and I don't want to push that any further today, and I want to leave these guys all here. So we're going to say one final goodbye to them, and then we're going to head on over to the Green Obelisk, which isn't actually too far, and the only thing that attacked me on the way was this rock golem. Thankfully I am way faster than that. Did not fancy trying to take that on with a shotgun, even one this powerful, but eventually we made it to the platform safe and sound and made sure we had everything for the boss. It's day 100. Time to fight the Alpha Manticore. We started off by putting on our Ascendant Gas Mask, which I believe is probably the best thing we've found in this entire playthrough, and then made sure the pig was passive healing, spawned the Alpha Manticore, and then started doing the courage roars to the Rexes, ready for them going into the arena. I've never fought this boss at all, never mind on Alpha, so yeah, this should be very, very interesting. So ladies and gentlemen, sit back, relax, and enjoy day 100 as we take on the Alpha Manticore. there we have it, ladies and gentlemen. The Alpha Manticore is defeated. I've had a lot of fun recording this video. This took a long time to do. They take around about 100 hours to record, even longer to edit. But I just wanted to say thank you. When I put the last video out, I had 60 subs. As of recording, I have about 2,500. That is insane to me. So thank you so much for your support. If you've liked this one, please do leave a like. Subscribe if you enjoy this kind of content, because there'll be more coming soon. And thanks again. Take care.